Sure. My name is Kathleen Kennedy. I go by Kathy. Most everybody that knows me pretty well just calls me either Kathy or Kath. And I got started in the movie business actually after growing up in a very small little town. It was only about 1,500 people. So when I got started in the movie business, I didn't know anything really to speak of about movies. We had one movie theater in our town, and they usually only played a movie once a month. So I would say that a lot of my background came from the things I got to do in the ways that I played. You know, I was always out in the woods, and my sisters and I used to pan for gold and, look for Indian arrowheads and things like that. So I think that it was a great way to kind of create a fertile imagination. It's a little bit of a fairy tale because one of the first people I met in the business was Steven Spielberg. And I met him when I was working with another director by the name of John Milius. And Steven asked me to come work for him when I was about 25, 26 years old. And then I spent many years making movies with Steven before I eventually took on the role that I have now, which is running Lucasfilm and making Star Wars movies.
My name is Malia, and I was wondering what inspired you to be a producer.
Oh, what inspired me? You know, it's funny. I realized that probably what inspired me actually goes back to high school. We had a great history teacher when I was about 15 years old who loved movies. And our history teacher used to let us make little movies in the class, even though it didn't necessarily have anything to do with history. And he also had a small theater called the Flicks, which he let a lot of the high school students work at. And at the time, I didn't think much about it other than the fact that I loved being a part of that, and I loved the process of making these little movies and working at the theater. But I only realized many years later that that was probably my first inspiration. I have always felt that one of the most important things is to some extent, find your passion, but always check in and ask yourself, am I having a good time? Am I enjoying this? Because I think that sometimes you can get stuck thinking that the things you're doing and the things you're learning don't feel like they're very fun. But I think eventually there's a great opportunity to find something you can do. And certainly in this business, you can find something you can do that for the most part can be pretty fun. And I think that that's a pretty great goal.
So can we all say, not scream it, can we all say thank you to Miss Kennedy for
taking... Oh, they can scream it.
All right, I guess you can scream it. Okay, you guys are all unmuted. Can you say thank you?